Hi book lovers, Lori here. I'm here to do a slightly delayed what's my favorites for the month of August and the month of September. I will admit these 2 months have been ridiculously insane. And I'm more talking about like my life. For those that don't know, I'm a theater teacher. And from August to about the end of September, I was watching the news a ridiculous amount due to everything happening with COVID, with the presidential debates, everything going on, the RNC, the DNC. There was a lot going on. So my entertainment fell off a little bit. I also was not feeling my best the first couple of weeks of August, dealing with a lot of stress stuff. Just it was very up in the air what was going to happen with school. So I fell into watching a lot of news, which was super stressful. So I kind of took a big step back in September, and that did help. But I still did wind up watching some things, movies especially. And I didn't binge watch like an entire series. So I kind of wanted to talk to this. It won't be as long as it normally is because honestly, in August, I had 2 weeks of mostly watching the RNC and the DNC, which is political, but it is an election year, and this will probably be going up around election day, so I hope you're going to go out and vote. But it was it was a lot of time. There's been a lot happening in the past couple of months, so the infection rate has been going up, schools have been closing, and it's been a lot of news focused. But I did wind up watching some things that I felt like I wanted to share. So, at I would say the start of August, I did do like a little bit of like an Ellen Page kick because I watched season 2 of Umbrella Academy, which I adored. I really wound up liking that show. I definitely want to rewatch it. Definitely like that show a lot more than season 1, but Ellen Page is one of my favorite actors. And I really grew to love that cast of characters. I love groups. I love shows about like a band of misfits teaming together. I love superpowers. So first season was enjoyable, but I adored the second season so much. Definitely a season that I have to rewatch at some point this year, but it was super enjoyable. So after that, I went kind of on a Ellen Page kick, and I watched Juno a few times because I love that movie. Definitely one of my favorite by her. I watched Whip It. Which is a one about a movie about her that has to do with roller derby, and I actually have a friend who's on a roller derby team, so I rewatched that one. I ended up really enjoying that one. I also rewatched Days of Future Past, which is the X-Men movie that she's in, and I actually wound up liking that movie better this time around than I did the first time. The first time I kind of went in literally just to watch for Ellen Page, and she's in the movie like not at all. She has like 3 scenes in the whole movie. It's not a good Ellen Page movie, but I really did like the other actors in it, and I thought it was a very effective movie. So that actually increased my enjoyment of that movie, to be honest. I also watched a movie that she's in called Ghost Cat that she's in when she's really little. It was cute though. So that was like my Ellen Page kick. Those are all the movies that I watched after I watched Umbrella Academy. I still have a couple of more that I really do need to watch, but then I kind of fell off that. Also, there is a podcast that I listen to called Rewatchable, and they do like a season, and their most recent round they rewatched Pitch. So then they did a League of Their Own movie watch, and I wound up watching that for the podcast, which I never had seen, but wound up enjoying a lot. So that was another movie that I wound up watching. So yeah, that was my movies that I wound up watching. And music, I haven't talked about this, but I have been listening to music more, especially kind of when I'm walking home from work recently. So the new CD that I picked up was Mandy Moore's Silver Linings. I got that like early in quarantine, and I never buy music, but I like her as a singer, so I wound up picking up that. And that was a really fun soundtrack. And I just kind of put it on when I'm like doing errands and stuff. But before I want to go into shows, I did wind up picking up a lot of podcasts. And I normally listen to like entertainment podcasts, but I wanted to kind of give them a shout out because if you're like me and you're not as politically minded. These podcasts really kind of break down all the news, and it's kind of let me step back from like enter news media at a point and kind of just listen to these podcasts, because I feel like I was really overwhelming myself a lot and kind of stressing myself out with a lot of anxiety. So the first podcast I picked up was called Pod Saves America. And it's basically these four guys, and they kind of have 2 episodes a week, and they kind of just kind of flesh out all the news, and they really break down what is happening with COVID and the presidency and everything in a really nice kind of roundup bow. And the most of these people were in the Obama administration, so they were like involved in the Obama administration, so they have some like inside knowledge, which I find super helpful. They're also like all live in different environments, so that was another podcast that I wanted picking up purely just for like my own sanity, but it was actually really helpful. So that's called Pod Saves America. And then another podcast from that same network is called, the whole brand is called Cricket Media. I've also been following What a Day, which is like a 20-minute podcast that happens I think every weekday. And they kind of just rewrap the previous headlines. And again, really diverse voices, super fast. They have some fun segments that super easy to listen to. And then another kind of political one that I wanted picking up was Millennial, who is from the people that bring me MuggleCast, which I have followed these people for years. And I finally decided to become a Patreon and subscribe to their Millennium podcast, which is basically like an entertainment news podcast, but it also has to do with politics and stuff. And I really respect their opinions on a lot of things. I listen to MuggleCast that all of those people are on, except for Pam. But again, super helpful podcast, super enjoyable. I feel like I'm listening to my friends talk about politics, and it's something that really has taken a big stress off my life, because I let them do the research, and then if anything really spikes me, I'm like, I'll go research it. But, again, I've been commuting back and forth a little bit more now, so I actually do have a lot of hours to kind of kill, especially now that my commute has been extended so much, because there's been a couple of train issues that's been happening. But yeah, that's kind of all the podcasts that I've been focusing on that I just wanted to give like a small shout out to. And then another one that has really had nothing to do with politics is called Fandom Buzz, and that's from Alexa and Mackie. And it's just kind of like just a fun entertainment news podcast. It's a lot about books. They both read. They have a YouTube channel, and they just kind of do like it's called The Break Room, and they kind of talk spoilers. So I would go into that podcast knowing that like you might get spoiled on something, but they do warn you and you can fast forward. But it's really good. I love their YouTube channel, and that is again just a really fun, lighthearted podcast that kind of takes me away from the drama of the world, and just kind of I get a lot of news about books, book releases. They talk a lot about anime, which I am not the biggest fan of, but I actually like hearing about the plot lines, so I don't mind being spoiled on that stuff. So that's perfectly fine. But the book stuff is also the main reason I tune in, and I really love their voices. So that is Fandom Buzz. Oh, I forgot about one more. And I also have been listening to the Michelle Obama podcast, which is just a gem. I love her. I really love her as a person. And again, it's a little bit more politically minded, but she does talks about a lot of different topics. She talks about marriage. There was a lot going on. The first episode had Obama on it, and then one had Conan O'Brien. So there was a lot of different voices, and it was super well done. So yeah, that was a little bit all over the place for the podcast section, but I just wanted to give you guys a shout out to what I have been listening to more of when I decided to step back from watching news 24/7. And that definitely has decreased my stress level by far. These are things I have been doing consistently over the past couple of months, especially since quarantine started. But I just wanted to talk about them again. I still am playing Animal Crossing. Definitely not as much. I try to do it maybe like 2 to 3 times a week. It just depends on a day that I have less time, on like more time when I come home. I do play a lot on the weekend. It is very much a de-stressor. I do play a lot more when I'm home, but the commute has killed some of my time. I also am still doing Skillshare. I did wind up buying a year-long membership to that one, which was highly enjoyable. I really like learning more about stuff, and it kind of gives me a couple of like an hour or two to myself to just kind of like learn something, and again, take myself away from the stress of the world and kind of focus on educating myself a little bit more. But I also wound up joining, due to all the the gym drama, like going to a gym is just not in my wheelhouse right now. I do go to yoga. I go to yoga on the weekends, and I have a studio that I do go to, and I do pay a membership, a year, like a monthly membership fee. But I was missing a gym, so I decided to sign up for both Beachbody and Daily Burn. Beachbody, I just decided to buy, and I will eventually get up to that peak point. But I also did get Daily Burn, which is definitely an easier workout for me right now, and I've been doing that every single day. I actually still have to pay my yearly membership. But that's something that I've also been doing since gyms are closed. I've also still been bike riding and all that other stuff. But I did wind up adding those 2 subscription services just because I don't know when I'm going to go back to a gym. I am a theater teacher in a building, so I feel like I'm already exposed so much. So I'm just trying to lessen my exposure to other people if I can avoid it. So those are kind of the entertainment or the workout stuff that I have picked up as well. This section is definitely going to be a little bit shorter. I did talk about Umbrella Academy earlier in the video, so I did watch the entire second season of Umbrella Academy. I watched it the very early part of August, and that kind of kickstarted my Ellen Page rewatch with all the movies. But then I started watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I started watching Good Witch, which my dad is obsessed with. He loves that show so much. So I wound up picking up Good Witch, and I fell head over heels into that show. And I literally stopped watching everything else. I stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I stopped watching Avatar The Last Airbender. I think I got through 5 seasons of it. And guys, it was like the best thing I did with my life. Because it was such a charming show. It had elements of like good Gilmore Girls. It had elements of like Buffy with like the subtle magic. Not even Buffy, but just like subtle magic. It was great. I really, really loved that. And I binge watched it and it was amazing. So that was the show that I really focused my time on. And honestly, it was like the most stress-free experience that I had. I just watched it. I put it on. I really am hoping that they get season 6 on Netflix soon so I could actually watch it, or I'm going to have to buy it. And I don't want to do that right now. So that was the thing that took up a lot of my time, Think honest. But I also wound up starting watching The Vow, which is on HBO Max, and it's about the Nexium cult. I think I'm a couple of episodes behind now because I got distracted Sunday nights. I was off a couple of Sundays, and I normally watch it before I go to work on Monday mornings because it kind of tires me out a little bit because it's a lot. But it basically follows the Nexium cult, and it's really shot really interesting because the people in the cult were like planning a movie about it, and then that footage got turned into this expose project, which so interesting. So it's definitely more of like an upper reach to watch, but super interesting. I also started watching Get Organized by Home Edit, which is a Netflix organization show. And the only reason I'm watching this is because I've started my Christmas crafting and I kind of put it on in the background as I'm doing my Christmas crafts because it's just kind of like an organization show, and I am really not all that organized, but I like watching them organize things. And they have home celebrities. The first episode was Reese Witherspoon. The second episode was like Khloe Kardashian. So I thought that was cool. And then they kind of organized people's houses. And then there's like normal families as well. But yeah, that's really all that I have watched. I'll be honest. It's definitely not a lot of TV shows, but I did spend a lot of time on The Good Witch. So I'm hopeful that we're in like a creepy season, so hopefully I'm gonna go watch a couple of creepy shows. I really hope to watch Sabrina next. That's gonna be my big undertaking, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I hope that my future entertainment, I hope I get back into watching a bunch of things. Again, I am commuting, so I am super tired after work. And we are still in the middle of a presidential election, and we start in the middle of this COVID pandemic. But I'm hopeful that I will be able to shut my brain off a little bit and go more the entertainment route. And I'll take you guys along for that journey. And I will definitely do a wrap up at the end of October and share what I have been watching, doing, and reading, or exploring in the entertainment realm. And I'll talk to you guys for my next what are my faves video in the future. Bye guys.